the start of this year, I mentioned to the congregation that I believe 2025 was a year of transition at Crossway. But I didn't know what we were going to be transitioning to. And about a month and a half ago, in mid-February, we gathered together as a congregation. I asked you to pray and start discerning what it is that God might be calling this body to. And over the last 6-7 weeks, as we have met as a congregation and our leadership has met, we've been seeking to discern what is God's will for Crossway now. The leadership has considered quite a few options. Four in particular that I want to bring your attention to. The first was this: we considered relocating in Fallbrook. And so we looked into what it would look like to buy a property, what it would look like to lease a property. And we've even looked at some per-use situations like a community center or other single-use kind of things. The second thing that we considered was moving to a new community and replanting. In the last 10, 15 years along the 76 corridor and the 15 corridor, the population has boomed. But there's not a lot of church presence there. There are two really wonderful and faithful churches there. So we thought, there's an opportunity there possibly to replant. The other one was, hey, let's stay the course. Let's keep moving in the direction we're going. Keep doing our services the way we're doing in this location here on Stagecoach. And the fourth, of course, was possibly to close. And as the leadership has met and discussed these four options and prayed about it, sought God's will individually and together as a collective, myself and the rest of the leadership has come to the conclusion that what God is calling our congregation to next is in fact to close. I say that it's hard to say that. It's not what I envisioned necessarily going forward, or I'd hoped for necessarily. But the more that we've discussed, the more I realized, I think this is right, and I think this is good. And so you might be asking, well, this comes as a bit of a surprise. Why, Pastor Tommy, do you think that we're closing? Is it because we're declining, our attendance is going down, and our giving is going down? And we have seen some of that since Christmas time. But the reality is we've always been a small church, and we remain within the norm of what we've always been. We've always been between like 30 and 60 in my tenure as pastor. And we're still averaging well within the normal range of attendance and giving, even though we have, of course, senior debt. But there were actually a handful of reasons why we believe that it is right, that this moment is right. The first is this: I've noticed in myself and in the rest of the leadership, and then further into the congregation, exhaustion. We do not believe that the God who commands us, he demands, this is a huge expectation of God, that we rest, that we Sabbath, that the God who commands us to rest, and the God who promises to give us a light load, wants us to burn ourselves out half-heartedly serving him. Rather, he wants our whole hearts. And that requires rest. And sometimes that requires a letting go. And so we realized, okay, with the exhaustion that we're seeing, we don't want to push people and possibly hurt people, ourselves included. The second thing is there's been issues about our facilities that we've been going back and forth and looking at for really the entire time I've been here. There's question about ownership. There is question of maintenance. There's been God has really faithfully been here for many years, but there are things that need to be improved, and we've worked on them. But there's more that needs to be done than we are really physically able to do, including the parking lot, the landscaping, some of the delayed maintenance, the plumbing, bathrooms, all of that. And the third reason is we realize this is an opportunity to end well, to end on God's terms. One of the things I debated as this became a viable option for us was this feeling of like, well, with God, all things are possible, right? So of course, success, growth, go. I've had to change my definition of what is good and what is possible. Is it possible that closing could be a good thing, that a good end is in itself a gift of God? I believe it is. because we get to end on God's terms. There is no infighting or conflict. Many of us have been part of churches before that have split off from other churches, or there's been a lot of conflict. There's none of that. Our leadership is on the same page. Our congregation seems as well to be on the same page. There's a lot of love and affection within this body. There's no moral failure. I'm not embezzling money. No one on our staff is embezzling money. There's no abuse. And so there's no moral failure. And yes, we are seeing some decline, but we're still within our normal range, and we've been low before, and things come in waves. For us, it became, we can end on God's terms. We can end well. We can shepherd each other and love each other well. And so this is not a decision that the leadership gets to make unilaterally. I don't get to make this decision. The board doesn't get to make this decision. This is a decision that the congregation makes. And so the leadership has discerned this and is proposing this. I'm going to make a formal proposal right now that we will then vote on April 27th after service. And so the formal proposal is this, that Crossway Community Church of Fallbrook would close public services as of July 6th, 2025. So our next step as a congregation is to pray and think through this and talk about it, and grieve together, and then come together again on April 27th to vote for this. But as well, there's a couple of other things I believe that God's calling us to finish well. And I believe that finishing well means finishing together. I want to read to us from Hebrews chapter 12. Hebrews 12 follows, check this, Hebrews 11. And in Hebrews 11, the author of Hebrews, he lists all the heroes of the faith, as if to encourage us, to remind us that we are not the originators of our faith, and that we are not alone in our faith. And the same is true here in our congregation, that there are people who have come before us at Community Baptist, at Inland Hills, who followed Jesus beautifully, faithfully, and they've passed on this gift to us. And with that in mind, the writer of Hebrews says this: therefore, with all of that in mind, all the folks who have come before you, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. A couple of things, next steps for us that come out of these two brief verses is this: we're not alone. Keep showing up. We're surrounded by each other. But don't just show up to sing songs, hear the sermon, and then vote for a close. Rather, show up full-heartedly, and show up honestly. Maybe you're disappointed with this proposal. Maybe you're angry. Maybe you're sad. I know I am certainly all of these things at moments. Maybe you're confused. Maybe you're exhausted. Bring them. Because when you are weak, we can be strong for you. And when I'm weak, you can be strong for me. We need each other. God has given us to one another to carry these burdens together. So show up. We are surrounded by a great cloud of witness. That brings to mind God's glory, the Shekinah glory, the cloud, the glory of God. We're surrounded by that in each other. And so continue to show up. And show up for one another, and show up honestly. And in showing up that, we need to throw off those things that are going to cause us to not finish well. There's a couple of things that I think that we need to, in particular in this season, avoid. First is this cynicism. Some cynicism, this idea that there's no point, might as well just throw in the towel now. I can just quit while we're ahead. Give up. That's not what we believe that God is calling us to. Don't give in to cynicism. We have a great hope. We have a great hope that the one who is crucified is also risen, and he is seated on the throne. The second thing that I think we need to avoid doing is gossip. There's a sense of a lot to process here. A lot of history to process, a lot of decisions that have been made, that are being made, that might be confusing. And one of our temptations might be to gossip or to needlessly speculate. You don't have to speculate. I am an open book. I'm a terrible secret keeper. You can come to me and I'm going to verbally process with you. I have nothing to hide. Our leadership has nothing to hide. We believe that we are trying to be faithful and obedient to Jesus Christ in making this proposal. And so some things that we want to throw off: cynicism, gossip, and needless speculation. And we throw these things off so that we can run with perseverance the race. And check this out. This has stood out to me. That's marked out for us. Each of us has our own race. Each church has its own race. And that race might not be the one that we wanted initially. As I've said many times, I have had a 30-year dream of what God might do in my time as your pastor. And a 30-year hope. 6 years is quite short of 30, isn't it? And so I genuinely believe that we need to not run a race that's marked out for someone else, but rather run this race that's before us with perseverance. And in doing that, we need to fix our eyes on Jesus. That's what it looks like to finish well. We are not going to fix our eyes on a building. We're not going to fix our eyes on a false sense of community that yes, us, or the country club vibes of a church. We're not going to fix our eyes on a style of worship or on a liturgy or on a preferred preacher or whatever. We fix our eyes on Jesus. And this is where our hope comes in. Because Jesus, for the sake of joy, endured the cross. That was the race set before him, was to suffer and to die. It was a hard race for him. And yet he did it for the sake of joy, for the joy that was set before him, because he knew on the other side of the hard thing is the good thing. You cannot get to the promised land without first going through the wilderness. And so Jesus endures the cross for our sake, for the joy of our salvation. And as we look to him, the question then becomes, what do we endure for joy, for the sake of joy? In this moment, I think we endure finishing well, running this race before the next race starts. And finally, Jesus, he endures the cross, and then he sits down at the right hand of the Father. He's in control. He's not surprised. He's not taken off guard. He's not disappointed. He's not angry. He's not mad. He's our sovereign Lord who loves us, who endured the cross with joy for our sake. And so we can confidently go to him, knowing that he has us. He has this church, and he always has. And he always will. And so let us run this race, knowing that those who sow in sorrow will reap in joy and laughter. We'll come together again on April 27th. But my hope is that we will be together every Sunday until then. And we will worship joyfully. On July 6th, it'll be a day of commissioning as we go into the community to continue serving the Lord faithfully. I love you. Our leadership loves you. And more importantly, the Lord Jesus Christ loves and adores you.